What's the worst thing that could happen? Hey guys, Rocky with Wild Edge Outdoors here, and we actually get to work on this van inside in a heated space. My prayers were answered. A couple of friends of mine, David and Linda, they allowed me to use their beautiful shop here to work on my van for a while. And I just can't tell them how grateful I am for allowing me to do that. It's going to make getting some stuff done here so much easier. So today we're going to pull this mat out. It's just a mess, but what I'd like to do is use this mat as a template for my boards and my vinyl, and in the edges it's not very precise. It kind of rolls up the walls, so I'm going to have to trim that to where I want it. Then I'll yank it out and start cleaning. So here we go. I think I can see why they didn't trim this very well. It's not easy. Probably should clean it before I actually pull it out so I don't make a mess everywhere. I think I'll do that. Well, that was messier than I thought it was going to be. So what do you think? Is this just going to come out real nice and easy, or is it going to fight me? We'll have to see if we can separate that insulation from the mat. Well, next thing is scrubbing and scraping. As far as the flooring goes, I've watched several YouTube videos to see how people are doing it. Well, you can see that there's every truck bed and van bed has a corrugated bed, so there's high points and low points. And I've seen some people glue the frame on top of these, going lengthwise. I've seen them fill in these low areas just to get everything all the same height. And I've seen guys go straight across this way with the framework. And my thoughts are, I want to go across this way and then put the insulation on top so everything is above these low areas. And my school of thought is that that leaves a little ventilation underneath there, because I won't completely seal both ends, and that way some air can get through and ventilate underneath there a little bit, and hopefully if any condensation or any water does get in there, it'll actually be able to be vented out. Let me know what you guys think. Anybody who's done this before, or just if you got any thoughts on it. Would you fill in these low spots, have everything just completely sealed in, or leave some airspace in there? Let me know what you think about that. So just to give you an overview here, you saw me take the mat out. That was fun. There's a lot of stuff that was sticking underneath this thing. It was wet under there, and the fact that it was wet and this thing doesn't leak, I'm not sure where the wetness came from, but that's why I want to have that venting underneath, just so that water, condensation, whatever it is, it has a place to go eventually. So far what I've done, I vacuumed it, then I went over it with a stiff bristled scrub brush, just dry, kind of like, well, just scraping everything off, and then vacuumed it again. So now I'm going to go over it with a scrub brush with some cleaner degreaser. Never used it before, but I tried it on this back part and it seemed to work really well. So I'll take pictures as I go so you can kind of see the difference. Okay, I got done with the, well, I had to put a mask on this stuff here. Every time I sprayed it, I'd start to cough. So I figured it was a good idea to put a mask on. Probably would have been a good idea to put knee pads on too. So anybody who's going to do this, don't do what I did. Anyways, I'm done with the dry scrubbing. I'm done with the wet scrubbing. It looks much better, and I don't know why I was thinking I wasn't going to have much for rust in here. It's a 2019, so that's, well, it's 2026, so that's what, 7 years. To me, that's like brand new. so maybe that's why I was thinking it was not going to be too much rust. But there's some surface rust in here, nothing terrible. It's not like it's rotting through or anything, just enough where I got to go over it and paint it. So my next step is I've got some of these rib nuts in here. Some of them I have to grind out. Some of them I can leave and just plug up with some silicone. And after that, then I got to go over it with some sanding, get rid of any rust that's on there, and then put some rust preventative paint on there. You know, just about every video that I've watched that people are doing this, they kind of gloss over it. And I'm kind of doing that too, you know, just I'm not going to show you. It's boring. It's super boring, but it's not fun, and it takes a while. I would rather have started with a brand new van, but that's not possible. But it's like any project, you got to do some demolition before you can start building back up. So that's where we are. Well, I can tell you this part is not fun. It's taken me longer and longer to stand up straight. So the point I'm at now, I ran a wire brush over everything, take up all the rust and any loose paint. So now I'm just going to wipe it all down, get the rest of I vacuumed it, by the way. And now I'm going to get the rest of the dust off of there. And then the next step is to coat it with some rust inhibitor. And after that cures and dries, whatever, I can paint. It's getting there, but this is more than an all-day project on this. I can see why people just skim over it. It's not fun at all. Okay, I got the next step accomplished. There is not much to see. It looks identical. I just put the rust inhibitor on it, and it doesn't really look any different. Supposedly, once it's all cured, it'll turn any rust to a black color and have kind of a dust, kind of a chalky color to it. Now I have to wait 24 hours for it to completely cure. Next step, spray paint so it all looks pretty. And then we're going to cover it so you'll never see it again. Okay, got that rust inhibitor done. Had to let it cure for 24 hours, so we're back ready to paint. Just going to use some Rust-Oleum gloss white, putting it on there to cover everything up. Shouldn't take me too long to do this, hopefully, but I got to find my mask because I don't want to breathe this crap in. I'll find it. Okay, that's enough of that. I had 3 cans of paint, took every bit of it. Probably could have used a 4th can, but it's good enough. I'm going to get out of here. Fumes are killing me. See you later. All right, we're at our next step. Now we get to put framework in. Cut down some 2x4s so that they are 1.5 inches wide by 1 inch, because that's how thick my insulation is, 1 inch. And what I've done so far is kind of laid these out. I got to make sure that the first one is very straight as I can get it. So I have squared it off with the ribs going down as best I can. So once I get that into place, then I can measure off of those and get the rest of them straight. So then I've marked each one of these ribs so I know where this one is going, and I'm going to take my sander and just scuff up the paint a little bit so the construction adhesive will work as best to its ability. And I also have a few screw holes and other little holes that I got to fill in, so I'm using silicone to patch those. So the first thing I'm doing is getting this first one all set. And there are places I've shown you before where the ribs are higher. I want to keep these lower areas clear so I can get ventilation. But out on the edges, there's no support out there sometimes, so I had to cut a little 1/4 inch piece, and we'll be putting that in there on the edges. All right, so that's what I'm going to do next, is just scuff that up for this first one, lay that one in there and let it cure a little bit, so then I can go off of there to get the rest of the measurements. Hey gang, right, it's another day, and we started actually gluing the framework down. Glued this piece down last night. That's not going anywhere, and so now it's time to systematically go through and put the rest of it in. What I'm doing on these side pieces here is I'm using my Craig jig to drill a hole in here and be able to pull these in, and I've got construction adhesive between those two. So as I go, I'm sanding down wherever the wood is going to touch the metal just a little bit, just to roughen it up. And as you can see, I've got heavy stuff sitting on it. I didn't really think I would need a lot of heavy stuff. I thought, well, it's just going to lay there and it should be nice, but the wood seems very straight, but the inside of the floor is not exactly perfectly level, so it's just what it is. I mean, you think of vehicles as being like perfect, but they are far from it. So that's what we're doing from here on. We're just systematically sanding, screwing in, and gluing these framing pieces in. Well, my Craig jig has settings for 1/2, 3/4, and 1.5 inch wood. My framing pieces are 1 inch, so I'm just using the 3/4 setting. Some of the edges here, I don't know if you can see that very well. Right in here, I've got a little shim in there, just to give it a little extra support, because there's no ribs going all the way out here. Okay, we got it all glued in. And I don't want to sound like I'm whining or anything, but if you're thinking about doing this and you got any kind of injury, especially kind of marginal knees, lower back, it's painful. Just be prepared. I'm not telling you not to do it, because I've got marginal knees and a bad lower back, among other things. You just be prepared to take a few breaks here and there. This part is done. So now I'm just going to throw some plywood on top of it and put some weight on it, just to kind of keep everything pushed down. I put my bracing in where I think I'm going to need it, and over here, right here where I'm stepping in, there was no rib, so I put a spacer underneath these to bring it up to the right level. And so this is what's going to get a lot of traffic right here, especially right here, because I'm actually going to have a cabinet that comes out probably a tube about halfway, right about to here. And then on the other side here, I've got these braces along here, because when the bed ends, then there's going to be a cabinet, and they're going to land right around that area. All right, we're at the next step. We have the frame firmly attached. It ain't going nowhere. So the next step is putting in the insulation. And I got 1 inch, this pink hard foam styrofoam, and it says it's a R5. And I'm just going to cut it to fit in between the framework. I found using one of these long bladed razor knives, and it cuts nice and clean. There's no mess whatsoever. Obviously use a straight edge for the first slice, and then you can almost cut all the way through with it, especially this 1 inch stuff. It's pretty easy to cut. So that's our next step. We're just going to be filling in the major holes, and then I have to take pieces. I will be scribing them in over on the edges, and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing when I get to that point. We're done. It's all framed in and insulated. It's got a few gaps around the edges, but that's okay. We're going to fill it in with spray foam later on. My next step is to take that mat that came out of here, and I'm going to lay it out on here and see how it looks. See if I can use that as a very good pattern to cut the plywood. Well, we can see that there's some places that it's off quite a bit, and some places where it's pretty tight. I'm going to take some pictures so I can see where it's nice and tight and some places where it's not. This side actually looks better than the other side. Some of the edges are going to be covered up. We'll fill in whatever gaps we have with some foam and then seal it with silicone. But like around the wheel wells, there's going to be enclosures around here, so it doesn't matter if we're super tight. That the end of the plywood is actually 1.75 inches farther. It's not perfect by any means, but we'll make it work. It'll happen. So the next thing is I'm gonna pull this truck out. Well, actually, I'm gonna mark on the sides where my cross members are, so I know where they are, and I am gonna have to drill through the floor for my heater, so I'm not sure exactly where that's gonna go, so I have to make sure I know where those framing members are so I don't have to drill through that. But then I'm going to drive this out, put 3 pieces of plywood on the floor, lay the mat on it, and start doing my tracing. And then I can start cutting it out, and we'll do one at a time and see how it works. Yay! Progress! Alright, I got the pieces cut out. I'm hoping they fit first time. It is 3/4 inch plywood, so it's going to be heavy, and it's going to be awkward I got to bring it in the side door, and that first piece, I think I'm going to have to cut a little bit more back here, but I'm hoping that I can get it to fit this way. I'm just not sure. Let's go find out. All right, it's backwards. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. My bed rails are in the way. I think this is going to be the hardest piece, of course. Okay, we got an issue here. And as you can see under here, I got this whole beam that I gotta get past, and that's not going to happen. So I got to come up with another solution. I did see a lot of people actually putting them in this way, 8 foot this way and like that. This is probably why. So, well, word of warning for all of you guys that are thinking about doing this. Don't put them all 3 this way. Do 2 of them full 8 foot. So you got some working room. And then the last one can go sideways. But I'm just gonna have to make this work because I'm already committed. Okay, I got it to work. It's not pretty, but we got it to work. Let me show you what I did. Okay, I split it right down my seam here. It would have been nicer if it was all one piece, but it's not going to have a lot of traffic. There's going to be a bed over this and a drawer over it, so it's not that big a deal. As you can see, it's not super tight, but that's what expanding foam is for. It'll work. The other 2 pieces should go in a lot easier. I was worried about this from the start. I didn't know if I would be able to get it in there. I had to try. And so those of you who might try this in a GMC van, don't. Don't do it this way. Learn by my mistakes. Let's hope that the second piece goes in a little easier than that one. That was easy. All right, we'll try the last piece. Then I get to pick everything up, put some glue on it. Yay. Okay, and now I'm going to just pull them out enough to put the adhesive down and then screw them in. Take those out of the way and we'll put this one in first. See you back later. Hey guys, it's done. It's all in, it's all screwed in. There's adhesive, it can't go anywhere. Now I've got to fill in the gaps around the edges with this great stuff. It's not that I think it's so great. It's just what it's called. There we go. Anyways, it's just gaps and cracks filler up to 1 inch. I think there might be a little bit bigger gaps some places, but it should do a good enough job. So I'll just spray this in there, let it foam up, and then after it's cured, I'll just trim it down to the height of the floor. All right, that's all she wrote for right now. We're gonna let that cure and then we'll come back and trim it down. See if I gotta fill in any more. But I don't wanna mess with it until actually after it's cured, because once you start playing with it when it's partially cured, it's just messy. It's terrible. The next step is actually putting linoleum on. That was my plan. Everybody I see on the internet, they put linoleum in here or that plank flooring. I'm trying to decide, should I just paint it? I mean, it's not that linoleum is super expensive. It's probably $100 would cover it. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Would you put linoleum in it, or would you paint it, or would you put plank flooring in there? That laminate stuff. I'm not really considering the laminate stuff because that stuff tends to buckle when it gets really hot. I've seen it happen in houses, and as everybody knows, vehicles get way hotter than a house. So what do you think, linoleum or paint? I don't know, I'm back and forth. Well, I decided to go with some linoleum, and I got this very light colored wood fake stuff, but it should have enough grain where it'll hide most of the dirt, but still be bright and show lots of light, or reflect light. So I'm using that same mat that was in there, but this time I'm gonna cut it bigger than what this is. I didn't do that on the plywood because it's tough to fit the plywood in, but I think this I can put in and then bend it around and trim it while it's in there. So that's my plan now. I'm just gonna trace this out where I think it should go and cut it out, and we'll try putting it in. All right, I got it trimmed out. I'll show you what it looks like. Probably could have done a little better job. See, it's fairly close to the edge. Probably could have done better along there, but it's okay. It's going to be filled in with silicone. So I think I might put a couple of screws in here, flip it back, and then put the adhesive on the front part. Then I can push it all there. I don't have to worry about this moving as I roller it. But it takes a little while to do the adhesive. You have to put it on, wait for a while for it to cure again. And then I'm going to use just a piece of pipe to kind of roller it. You're supposed to use a weighted roller, but I'm not spending 50 some bucks for a roller. I'm only going to use once. So that's our plan for today. Never done this before. I've seen it done. Hopefully it goes well. Let's give it a shot. What's the worst thing that could happen? Hey guys, we're back finishing up the floor. Just got a couple of little finishing things to do here. The edges, the back, front, and by the side door need some kind of trim here. My plan was to get some aluminum angle iron that would be just the right size to go over here and protect this edge, and same with all around. Well, that didn't happen because that aluminum angle is way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. So I'm improvising, and we're using some stair tread stair tread kind of angle. I'm sure you've seen it on stairs before. This is the angle. This isn't big enough to cover the whole thing, so I got this stuff that's supposed to be for transitioning for carpet or different floors. So I'm going to put that on. This on the bottom. I already cut these to length. You didn't need to see me cut them. So that's what it's going to look like. See if we can get you a little closer. Thought they were the same color, but they look a little off. We still have the space underneath for the venting. So it would have been nice to get some matching screws here, you know, same color and everything. But I like to use these pancake head screws. See if you can, yeah, there you can see it. Big head on them. I don't really care if they're noticeable. It's just for me. So they're just going to hold everything in place here. I don't know if I have to screw that one in or not. They do give me some, maybe I'll use these for the bottom one. They give me some spiral, the ring shank nails to hold these on. Maybe I'll use it for this one because that doesn't have any stress on it, but then I'll put screws in this one. I think we'll do that. There we go. I got this set, this end done. I know the screws look a little weird, but after a while I won't notice that. Now we have to do this end. This little thing here, it should turn out all right. Show you what the other side looks like. It took me a little while longer because it's got those 45s and it could be better. Yeah, here's what the side entrance looks like. It looks all right. Those corners aren't perfect by any means. And I didn't have enough screws for this, but it's in place. So I'll just have to screw that in. Now the last thing is just putting silicone along the edges. All right, I got it done. And I even got the edges all siliconed up. It could look better, but it's all going to be behind walls and everything, so it doesn't really have to look perfect. It just has to work. And so that's where we are. So I finally got this floor completely done, and just to summarize, it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. For some reason, I thought there wouldn't be any rust or anything underneath the floor. Since it had a mat and some insulation, I thought it would have been cushioned, but that insulation was wet and did rust out a little bit. Nothing major, just surface rust. But it all takes time. And like I said, if you're my age, in the 60s, bending over, working on the floor like that, it's a little rough. And same with the knees. I've had knee injuries, and they don't always speak kindly to me when I do this kind of stuff. But hey, it all depends on how bad you want to do it. So I got it done. I like it. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. And the next step is figuring out where the heater is going to go. I got to check underneath and see if it's clear underneath where I want to put it. That'll be another video. All right, hey, thanks for watching. And if you've got any questions on this thing, got any comments about how you think I could have done it better, which I'm sure I could have done it different. I don't know, better. There's so many different opinions out there on these vans. Looking into doing the walls, and oh my gosh, the different opinions on what you need to do for vapor barrier, no vapor barrier, what type of insulation. Wow, it's crazy. So we'll be getting into that too. All right, thanks for watching, and hope you got something out of this. See you later. Bye.